from WCIA 3 Plus. With your host, Stu Ellis. This is From the Farm.
Hello again, everyone. We welcome you to another edition of From the Farm and something very special today. This is going to be part one of a two-part series, and we hope you can catch up with the second one, and we'll tell you about that later on. But the topic is PCM, Precision Conservation Management. Now, I know a lot of you have heard about it, and many of you are participants in PCM. But our guest today is Greg Goodwin. Greg is director of the PCM program. We're going to find out a lot about it, some of the inner workings of it, and talk to a couple of people who are in PCM. But for the folks who do not or are not familiar with precision conservation management, Greg, we welcome you, and with a question of tell the folks who are not familiar with precision conservation management what it's all about.
Yeah, happy to. Really appreciate the invite here and the opportunity to do that. Greg Goodwin with the Illinois Corn Growers Association and director of the PCM program. PCM is a by the farmers, for the farmers conservation effort started by the Illinois Corn Growers Association back in about 2015. So I know we're going to talk a bit more about this later, but we're going on 10 years of the program operating, 10 years of farmer data collection. And really the point of the program is to help farmers, understand how conservation efforts related to in-field management affect farm economics and environmental outcomes associated with those management decisions on the farm. And so, farmers join the program, they work with a conservation specialist. That person is going to help them get their farm data in order and basically intake that farm data on a field-by-field basis, on a pass-by-pass basis, and help them understand, again, the economics and environmental outcomes of all of that information broken down in an annual report.
I can remember back 10 years ago when the program was announced, and there was a news conference and a lot of people at this event in Bloomington at the Illinois Corn Growers. And at the time, I had a little difficulty in getting my mind around what this is all about. Since then, I found out it's pretty simple.
Yes.
But there were a lot of facets to it. And as you said, it's all farmer driven. It's not rules that are coming from Washington. There are no what you would consider regulations that people have to abide by or get their hands slapped. And it's a cooperative effort with a lot of folks. And an Illinois Corn kind of came up with this idea to begin with.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, the farmers, the by farmers for farmers piece is true. It was certainly a lot of the staff that support those farmers in the organization, specifically Dr. Laura Gentry, who's going to star in part two of this series, was instrumental from the beginning, helping get it together and off the ground. But yeah, I think Illinois Corn specifically realized that if we're going to get more farmers to adopt conservation, it has to make financial sense for them. And that is at the core of the program. And so, worked very closely with a number of other folks, specifically some ag economists at University of Illinois. If you visit our website, Dr. Gary Schnittke is prominently displayed on there as one of the sort of folks who helped get this off the ground. That facet is just, again, core to everything that we do in terms of understanding what's going to get farmers to adopt conservation to begin with, but what's going to keep them doing it in the long run.
And a lot of, I'm not sure how many people are participating, but we'll ask you about that. But it's a wide area, and you're going not across Illinois, but you're crossing state boundaries too.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So currently we have 8 full-time conservation specialists in Illinois that service roughly half the counties in the state. We're always looking for new opportunities to expand. And in fact, some of those opportunities, as you mentioned, have come in other states as, you know, more farmers hear about this, especially those, you know, associated with their commodity organizations in the states. And since we were, you know, launched out of Illinois Corn, it's been some of those other corn grower organizations, you know, those in Kentucky, Nebraska, and Missouri who have, you know, sort of seen the importance of what this can provide for farmers in terms of how they learn from this data, interact with that data, and use it to make decisions. And so they've helped lead those efforts getting off the ground in those respective states.
They provided some financial help for the folks who are the staff people in those states, and they become employees of their organization, and then continue on to attract farmers in those states and just expand the program from there, I guess.
That's exactly right. Yeah, pretty much every partner, we have more than 30 now. If you look at any of our material webinars on our website, has contributed, you know, some sort of financial cash match or in-kind contribution through helping promote the program and things of that nature. And yeah, can't do this in other areas without that local support and local championing of the program. That's really, again, another feature that's paramount to how we operate and, you know, achieve that trust by farmers in those local areas.
And I have a feeling that a lot of people who are watching this program today may think, well, are there any farmers around that I know that are part of it? And I think we've got a couple here that we're going to let them tell their story about. And let's visit with one who is down at Philo. That's Steve Hettinger. And Steve is a very prominent Champaign County farmer, a leader in a lot of things, and I'm not sure when he got involved in PCM, but he seems to be quite comfortable with the program because it's beneficial to him. So let's introduce Steve Hettinger here, and he can tell his story about it.
How has PCM impacted your farm operation?
PCM has probably impacted in a way that's allowed me, it's really given me confidence to try different things. Under their guidance, it's just a little bit easier, someone holding your hand to give you a little more confidence in trying something new.
Has it been easy to participate in PCM?
If it wasn't easy, I wouldn't still be doing it because we like the easy button on the farm. So yeah, especially the guidance I get from my representative is amazing. The data I get is good and just gives me more confidence.
Based on what you know and have done with your farm for a number of years, has PCM brought in any surprises about your most profitable practices? Has it kind of confirmed some of your assumptions that I'm doing the things right?
It's done both. It's confirmed some things, and it's allowed me to see a little bit through the veil of tradition and try to new things that would allow me to be profitable. So we're trained to be on yield, and I'm learning that profitability trumps yield, of course. And so they've allowed me that data, the guidance to let me try new things. And I'm finding some things with a shortage of help on the farm, people, labor. If I can reduce my tillage passes and get the same profitability, I'm going to do it.
All right, and what are some of those things that you have changed because of PCM?
So what we've changed is less passes across the field on our cultivation, tillage, trying to cover crops, and finding out that we've gained, it's a give and take game. We may get better weed control, we'll have less passes. We may sometimes give up a couple bushels on beans on that, but sometimes not. So there's give and take, and we're going slowly. But what's nice about PCM, they don't force you. They just inform you, and so that's very helpful.
If any of your neighbors were considering it, what would you tell them to think about, and how would you convince them to participate?
Yeah, you've heard this before. Try it and don't give up on it the first year. My first year, the landlord came in and says, "Why aren't we doing more of this?" He saw it in the Prairie Farmer Farm Journal. I said, because a landlord had sat across my table and told me to do it. But I had two requirements: that I did it off of a highway where all the other farmers were, and that I did a side-by-side the first year with my other practices comparably in the same field. But the main thing is to keep plugging away at it. And then the government, sometimes we feel like we're farming the government. And so there's profitability in the programs that are being offered through the government. Decatur Watershed we're involved in, which helps. And I would never even looked at that Decatur Watershed program if I hadn't had the experience of PCM guiding me 3 years before that. And so I had the confidence, 3 years of experience when the watershed came up, and that there are some good payments and we're helping the environment. So it's a win-win for everybody. That's what you got to have, a win-win. Otherwise, it's hard to try. But anyway, PCM gives me the confidence to do all that. Yeah.
Greg, what did you hear Steve say that you want to underscore or you think is important that people should know?
Excellent question. I think one thing Steve highlighted there, or well, two things Steve highlighted there. One is the importance of the annual report that farmers receive and how this can help, farmers who may already be doing some of the right things, from a conservation standpoint. And I say sort of right things in air quotes, but help affirm those decisions. I think there are a lot of farmers who are out there who, are already doing no-till or maybe already trying cover crops who are not in our program. But until they have, some sort of report that sort of helps affirm that, okay, that now I understand how this is, impacting my yield or impacted my net returns compared to myself in time or other farmers who are in the program. They don't necessarily have all the information to be extremely confident about that. And so that's one thing. We call these reports our Resource Analysis and Assessment Plan, or RAP report. Again, that's an annual report that farmers are going to get. I think, Steve summed it up well as far as how he utilizes that. And I think one way I've kind of thought about it, and I think, farmers are now thinking about it, is it can help affirm their decisions or potentially challenge their mindset, if they're really, set on doing multiple tillage passes or applying a certain amount of nitrogen. This is going to help you understand how the economics of that are shaken out, and may help you question your decision making there. Another important facet I'll mention that he quoted about programs. So, there are many, many different programs out there for farmers that are offering cost share incentive payments to, try new conservation, or some that will pay for existing conservation efforts. Frankly, it's hard for our staff and our team to keep our heads wrapped around it. I can only imagine what that's like for a farmer, whose full-time job is to farm, to try to keep their heads wrapped around it. So that's one of the burdens that we also try to take off of a farmer, and then help coach them up on what's available to them, given their current situation from a management standpoint and things like that.
You mentioned conservation, and that's something we want to score on here in just a moment. But first, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with you. And Greg, you just before the break mentioned the term conservation, and the Illinois Department of Agriculture just announced a program that farmers can get some pretty good money for focusing on either no-till or strip-till. And the application period will end on October 31st. So if you're watching this program before then, there's an opportunity to apply. But if you're watching the program after October 31st, the deadline is over. But how does that program fit into precision conservation management?
Yeah, excellent question. And, it's a Illinois Department of Ag program, but that is one thing, like I mentioned, a service that we try to provide every farmer in our program, is helping them understand what sort of, conservation cost share or incentive programs are available to them. And yeah, this specific program looks really appealing. It's, again, as you mentioned, for no-till and strip-till, and does not have to be just new acres. So farmers can apply through their website, reach out to your conservation specialist if you're already in PCM ahead of that deadline that Stu mentioned here. We can help you understand, the forms and paperwork, things you'll have to do in order to qualify. But it seems like a very straightforward relatively simple to qualify for program. It will start they will start taking applications on the 27th at 8 a.m. October 27th. So be at your keyboards ready to hit enter when that comes available. But yeah, we're excited about it. One thing I would say, if you're going to do that program, reach out to your specialist again. Let them enroll you in PCM. We can help capture the data and also help you understand how you may even be able to stack that particular program with other opportunities for, again, incentives or cost share payments that would help you, gain even more for whatever, the tillage change you may be getting ready to make.
When people were listening to Steve Hettinger just a moment ago, he said he's changed his philosophy on farming from farming for yield to farming for profitability. That's something that a lot of farmers are starting to learn.
Yeah, you hint at it. We're in very tough economic times when it comes to agriculture. As you mentioned, I think we do a lot with the University of Illinois, specifically their farm doc team, and that's, their bread and butter is farm economics. They're projecting 26 as fourth year in a row of projected losses on farm. Never been a more important time as a farmer to consider how efficient you're being from an input standpoint and just keeping your costs low for production. I think that's something that's our first approach to conservation and sustainability, is really just being an efficient producer. And so when it comes to fertilizer, specifically nitrogen as an input for corn production and tillage, these are things that if you're kind of overdoing it, you can possibly back off of those things and see an immediate profitability signal. Our data bears that out. We would love to intake your farm data and help you, see how those economics play out. Again, trying to farm for ROI, for profit, as opposed to just the highest yield you can get.
I have not seen the numbers. I'm not an expert on this, but it would seem like from a big perspective, standing back a little bit, that the changes that a PCM participant might make with what you just mentioned could mean the difference between between income that's below that line of profitability to just above that line. We're not going to get rich, but we aren't going to get further in the red. And I would think that some of the recommendations that you would have could get you across that line.
That's exactly right. The nitrogen recommendation tool that the University of Illinois has, the maximum return to nitrogen,
MRTN. Mm-hmm.
Yes, that tool specifically is wholly designed to try to help farmers understand what that most profitable nitrogen rate is. And we utilize that tool in PCM and help you understand if you're currently applying beyond that, based on where you farm in the state, what's the productivity of your soils, things like that. And yeah, that's a critical tool. I mean, that can again add immediate profitability to your farm in some cases if you're applying beyond that recommended nitrogen rate.
And another thing Steve said his landlord said, "Why aren't you doing this?" I think when you can convince a landlord that these kind of changes could be great, why, boom, you've really achieved something.
That's exactly right. I think more landowners are becoming aware of how their farms are being farmed, and we've heard from several companies who, are helping manage farms for landlords, and this is an ever-growing interest. They know their customers on the other side, their folks who are using their commodities down the supply chain are interested in seeing some of these changes, and landlords are kind of waking up, I would say, to how their farms are being managed, and therefore requesting some of that, and thinking about how these things affect land value in the future, and again, the environmental side of farming. And it's we're seeing this messaging come from multiple angles at this point.
We appreciate what you just said. We'll explore it a little bit more a little later here if we got some more time. But we want to take a break, and we've got somebody else who's going to be joining us here in just a moment. So we'll be right back. Our topic today, as we wrap up the program here in just a few minutes, is precision conservation management. And just a moment ago, we had Steve Hettinger of Philo, one of the participants, talking about the program. Want to bring into the conversation Brian Krukowit. Brian farms out in the Homer area, and he's also been a longtime participant in precision conservation management.
How has PCM impacted your farm operation?
Well, PCM has given us some insights, data-wise, that we could use around our farm to make adjustments or maybe confirm kind of what we're doing is working. We do a lot of no-till and strip-till, and at times I think we've questioned if that is our practices that are the most profitable or the most sustainable. And I think PCM has shown us that for the most part that those practices are what we believe in, that they're giving us great profitability, and also the sustainability portion has shown us again that we're doing the right things.
Pretty easy to work with them.
Absolutely, they are great to work with. You get a specialist that comes out, gives you your end-of-year wrap report that kind of shows everything you've done and also what others in your area is doing to kind of help you, maybe guide you with some new ideas. But again, confirm maybe what you're already doing is what you should be doing. And Leighton, who we work with, I mean, he's always great. I can always shoot him a text or give him a call. Always gets back to me right away with good info. So they make it super easy to work with.
Any of the PCM data surprise you and what you had thought?
Yeah, there's been a few things that I think have been surprising. A lot of it has been really good, positive direction stuff that confirmed what we're doing, but there's been some surprises that we feel like that maybe we could improve on, and maybe we need to do something different. And I think that's kind of what makes PCM special, is gives us some new ideas and some things that we could work on.
Have you changed anything about your farming practices because of PCM?
We have not yet, but I think that it's started some discussions that maybe we could try some different things. Maybe try a practice that we're not as comfortable with, like some cover crops before corn. But I think, again, PCM has shown us some data-driven ideas that in the future could really help us.
If one of your neighbors was thinking about PCM, what would you tell them?
I'd highly encourage them to join. I think it's another tool in the toolbox of showing you, rather than maybe a spreadsheet or something you read in a magazine. They kind of have some data that shows you what's working and also what's not. And like I mentioned, at times might surprise you where you stand, and maybe you need to make some changes to be more profitable, or there's something you wanted to try but you've been too hesitant. And again, that data kind of tells you, is it working? And if it is, why not make the jump?
Well, our thanks to Brian Krukowit there just kind of gave us a lead in to what we want to talk about, people who might be interested. So, Greg, if someone is interested in precision conservation management and what they've been hearing for the past few minutes, how does one go about signing up or finding out more information?
The best way is to go to our website, precisionconservation.org.
Precisionconservation.org. Okay.
Yes, that's exactly right. And yeah, on there you're going to find a button that says Find My Specialist. And if you click that, you're going to go to a little intake form that will allow you to put your contact information in there, like name, email, phone number if you're interested. And that will allow us to direct you to the person in your region to contact you and get all the rest of the information needed to sign you up for the program.
Is there cost?
No, there is no cost. And in fact, you are going to be paid $750 just to join. We leverage PCM farmer data, in aggregate anonymized outreach. And so we think your time and ability or willingness to do that is worth something to you And so a farmer is going to get $500 at start and another $250 after for their first year in the program.
All right. Greg, we appreciate you stopping by today. But this is not the only time we're going to talk about it. We're going to have a part 2 of this. Dr. Laura Gentry will be joining us, and we'll be talking about some other things regarding PCM, and you'll hear from a couple of other PCM participants. So we wish you to invite you to stop back for that one. That wraps up our program today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Stu Ellis.